After that introduction, I'm curious of what I'm going to say, you know. You know, we're here today to talk about financial freedom. And it's so important. It's stunning to me because I'll go around and talk to people and just kind of get in conversations, kind of see what they're thinking about money. And have you ever heard this one? Oh, Orrin, money's not that important to me. And I don't know, I mean, maybe I'm too literal being an engineer, but I step back and think about that, and I'm like, now why would someone say money's not important when they're spending more time to make money than any other thing in their life? I mean, let me give you an example. Can you imagine someone saying, Orrin, going to church isn't important to me. All I do is go 5 days a week, 8 to 10 hours a day. If someone went to church 5 days a week for 8 to 10 hours and then told you church wasn't important to them, would you be scratching your head saying, man, that seems like it's pretty important to. And yet, all of us, because we live in a money economy, all of us need to make money in order to pay things like bills, you know, for conveniences like living indoors, just some basic stuff. And so we all need to have a plan of how to make money. And because there's only 4 ways you can make money. I mean, let me just draw it out. If you take a look at it, you have to have a plan for offense and you have to have a plan for defense when it comes to finances. So yes, you can play defense. No, you may not. Offense, no, you may not. And yes, you are playing defense. That's offense. That's your 4 things. And so if you're playing defense but not offense, you're what we call a tightwad. Anybody in that tight? Oh man, how about my brothers and sisters out there? We are the no group. Hey, do you want to go do this? Nope. Why not? Because it costs money. And I worked really hard for that money, and I don't want to turn it to anything. You see, there's really only 2 ways to fail financially. You can spend when you should be saving, or you save when you should be investing. If you can just remember those, that's just 2 simple statements, and when you figure out those statements and start saving instead of spending, and start investing instead of saving at the right points, when you get that, you're gonna break free from the masses. You're gonna break free from the financial matrix because you're gonna develop what we call financial literacy. It's the most important thing. This should be the quest of everybody that's living on earth in the physical reality. Your quest should be to learn enough wisdom about finances so you solve one of the biggest problems that most people don't even realize they have. And that is because we haven't solved the financial challenge going on in our life. We have to spend over 1/3 of our life working and doing things that we may or may not love. If you love your job, I am not here to criticize anybody that has a job. I'm proud of you for having a job. That tells me that you care for your family and you want to earn a living to support them. But all things being equal, wouldn't it be awesome to be able to solve the financial issue to where you can make enough money without having to go anywhere to do anything? You've actually created an ongoing income stream to where you can take the time, which is what life is made of, and do the things you want with your time. Can you imagine what life would be like? Like I was sitting there, Kirk and Cassie picked us up at the airport this morning. We were in a great conversation, and I was telling them, I said, yeah, this week was amazing. This week, the weather, it was like the ocean was totally flat. There was no waves. It would have been perfect fishing weather. And yet all week, I just looked out at it, and I didn't go fishing. And I'm like, because I had this meeting, and I wanted to finish this project I was working on. I was writing this book, and I was finishing this. And I said, but no problem. I called my captain and said, Cap, early June, that's when everything calms down the ocean. And the Bahamas is just a 4-hour yacht trip away. And in the Bahamas, they have these things called blue marlin. Has anybody ever seen a blue marlin? They're monsters. They also have this fish called wahoo. And the reason it's called wahoo is because when you catch one, you go, wahoo! because it goes 64 miles an hour in the water. And I've got a yacht trip planned on my older brother that I've never taken on a big fishing trip. He's finally coming with me. And we're going, and I'm taking my son, and I'm taking a few others, and we are going out for 4 days. Just a bunch of guys and fish. It's almost like Old Man in the Sea. And you know that I can do that, and I'm not worried about having to call in a job, nothing. And then when I get back from that, a week later, Lori and I, because it's our 25th anniversary this year, this is crazy. This is crazy. Just because I learned some principles about financial literacy and started teaching it to people, we have some friends over in Oslo, Norway. Now, let me tell you, people from Columbiaville, Michigan, do not know people from Oslo, Norway. But we just happen to know this multi-millionaire couple over there that runs a nearly $100-some million business, and they every year want us to come in and teach financial literacy to their group. So it's crazy. I'm like, yeah, you know, yeah, we'll go do that, but that's a long trip. And he said, tell you what we'll do. We'll give you a free vacation every year. I mean, when you're from Columbiaville, Michigan, you don't think about European vacations. Like, they pay first-class tickets to fly you over there. They take you, we're speaking in Paris to our group, and they're flying us over for that. They're paying for that. Then they are they're flying us to Edinburgh, Scotland. Anybody ever been to? So, I mean, because I've read all these old dead guys their books, and they're really cool stuff. But I'm like, I want to actually see it. So they put us up in a 5-star hotel, the Glass-Walled Hotel. 5-star, I mean, it's right on the Royal Way. It's like the primo spot in Edinburgh because you can get to everything. Covering all that. Then they're flying us to Norway. We give a couple talks. They're buying a whole bunch of green boxes. And then we're flying home. They're not even in our business. But they want to know this green box. You know why they want to know the green box? Because everybody's asking the same question. How do we live financially free in an age that people are getting trapped into this financial matrix? And the answer is you got to learn 2 principles. You got to learn how to play defense, and you got to learn how to play offense. And the tightwad figured out half of it. They got half of it. That's good, because when you ask them to spend money that they shouldn't be spending, they're like, no. But then you turn around and say, okay, you got the defense part. Now it's time to go score some points. And you know what they say? No. And I'm like, you've got one answer, but you really need 2. You need to learn when to say no to expenses, but you need to learn to say yes to investments. And the right investment, the number one investment, according to Warren Buffett. I mean, it's kind of hard to argue with Warren Buffett when it comes to money. Warren Buffett said the number one investment, the most important investment a person can invest in is themselves. When I heard that, here I was. I wouldn't read. I wouldn't spend any money. If I wanted a book, I'd go to the library because I'm not going to spend any money on this. And then I started recognizing I'm only hurting my ability to improve my skills. And do you understand that from here down, we're all worth minimum wage? It's what we do up here that makes all the difference. For a person to say no to investment in the mind, the only mind they're ever going to be issued, they're totally missing it. And so tightwads of the world, unite. You've got to be able to break free and separate in your mind. Expenses, awesome job on saying no. Investments, though, in yourself, you've got to learn to say yes. If you don't, you will always be trapped in this tightwad quadrant. And I was stuck there because my answer to everything was no. If you take a look at the other side, the exact opposite of the tightwad is the status quadrant. You know what they are? They're Mr. and Mrs. Yes. Hey, Warren, do you want to invest $3,000 for a personal development seminar on the other side of the world? Yes. Hey, Warren, we just made an extra $100,000 this year, so we're going to double the size of our house because we can afford the payments. Yes. And what they do is they say yes to everything. They say yes to every expense. They say yes to every investment. So they make some good money, but they're constantly leaving themselves right at the edge. If they have one bad year Anybody know someone that was making a lot of money once and isn't anymore? I've seen it hundreds of times. Because what happens is no matter how much money they make, they spend everything they make because they only have one answer to everything. Where the tightwad says no, no, the status says yes, yes. So the status quadrant has another side of the equation right. They understand the power of investment. These are the guys, man, they can make some great money. Guys and gals, they can make some great money. But they're always right at the edge of going under because no matter how much they make, they spend the same amount. And don't we all kind of know that? I mean, isn't it crazy if you go talk to someone making $50,000 a year and you say, what's the problem? They say, if I only made $75,000, everything would be fine. But the only real problem with that is I go talk to the people that make $75,000 a year, and you know what they tell me? If I only made $100,000, everything would be okay. Go talk to the 100 guy and it's 125 and it just keeps jumping up and it's always one level higher. If I just made this, everything would be okay. And you know what the right answer is? It's not true. No matter how much you make, it's never going to be okay until you develop financial literacy. The goal is to move to this financially free. I'm not going to go too far into the broke quadrant, but I'll tell you this. The broke quadrant does something amazing. They say yes when they should say no, and they say no when they should say yes. That's an impressive combination, and 50% of all people in the United States of America fall into that. 50%. Do you think 50% of the people at 18, if you had asked them, hey, given these 4 quadrants, which one would you like to be in? I'm going for broke. Sounds like a pretty tough quadrant to battle my way out of. Now, Lori's going to share more details, but if you take a look at our life, Mr. Tightwad married Miss Status. That's what happened. He said, I mean, we were laughing the other day as we were going, like, you know what happened? No wonder we fought every day. I was Mr. No, you were Mrs. Yes. And we're both stubborn. It was like 2 rams. Yes, no, bam. Yes, no, bam. You tired yet? A little bit. Actually, are you tired yet? No. Lori says yes. Bam. And so what we did is we played the tug of war this direction, and then we ended up falling in the broke quadrant because after a while I got tired of arguing that I'd say yes to things I shouldn't have said yes to. And we'd go, and it's just crazy. I'll let Lori share the rest. But the point was, through the craziest of providences, we stumbled across a plan. We started reading, we started listening, we started associating. Here's what we're here to do today. I want to kind of set the framework before we get into the details and tell you my whole objective today is to come to Michigan to look for partners. To look for people that are saying, you know what, I'm sick and tired. Because if anybody ever thought, if you read the Financial Matrix, and you can do your own study, and you'll find out that is a very truthful book. That if you go to the bank and say, I want to buy this $200,000 house, that they literally can go in and in milliseconds digitize debt and come up with $200,000 that didn't exist before and loan it to you, and you spend the next 30 years of your life paying off that loan. Does anybody have an issue with that? Because I do. I have an issue with that. You say, well, Warren, if you're doing so good, what are you doing up here? If there's anybody in this room that is feeling the effects of that financial matrix like Lori and myself, then we came up here to say, we will partner with you. We'll teach you everything. We'll teach you step by step the process. We have a system in place. We have a community. And by the way, Michigan community is one of the best out there in all of life. All of life. And here's what we do, guys. We called a clandestine meeting. The financial matrix doesn't know this is going on. Here's what when the bankers go to bed tonight, we're gonna do a bank break. No. We're not gonna go into the bank. We're breaking away from the banks. We're gonna live We're going to gather together, and every night we're going to gather together, and we're going to put one more chip in that financial matrix wall until that thing busts loose. And we are going to help so many thousands and then eventually millions of people live free from the financial matrix. That's what we're going to do. This year, Lori's going to cover the green box. This is not just a box. And this is just not if you want to buy this and one-time purchase and go check it out, you'll wipe out debt just doing that. There's so many great principles in here. But you know what happens? Over time, the financial matrix will get you again because you'll swim in that current. You'll be watching TV and someone will say, same as cash, the car of your dreams. You've earned it. Not. But you just sign here and we'll get you. Yes. And eventually, even if you've been doing a good job of saying no and starting to invest in the right things, eventually you'll get sucked right back in. Just like Lori and I did, man. I'd been saying no, and I was fighting the tightwad, and then I fell in love with Lori, and we went on our honeymoon. And this timeshare guy said it was a free meal if I went, and he got me with the free meal, but then he started casting a vision. He was good. He said, Orrin, imagine a 10-week package. You could come back down to St. Martin anytime you want. You're going to go out there and be real successful. He must have saw my number. He said, oh, this couple, 2 professionals, they're going to make all kinds of money. He said, oh, and then you can come back, and then it's a timeshare. If you don't want to come here, you can go somewhere else. I looked at Lori, and then he said his closer was, and plus, you get a cam recorder, a free cam recorder if you sign up now. 12 easy installment payments yearly. And I signed on a $12,000 timeshare after I just bought a house, after I just bought a ring, when I said I do, I somehow accumulated 3 credit card debts that I didn't know existed. That's another story. I'll let Lori tell her version. That's why I came out here first, because I finally get to tell my version first. But Mr. Tightwad and Mrs. Status, I'm not going to ask you to raise your hand on this one, but I just want you to think. Nod at me if you want to. Have you ever had a significant discussion with your significant other over the subject of money? Okay, got it, yep, got it. You in the back, got it. All of us have. Financial stress is one of the great destroyers of marriages. We have a plan. We have a program. The green box isn't just a box. It's not just a product. It's a program that will teach you the defensive principles and the offensive principles. As we gather together, tightwads, come to the center. Status, come to the center. Broke, come to the center. Grab a hold of this rope and let's tug a war. Let's win the tug of war against these banks, and let's all break through to the financially free quadrant, and let's live our dreams debt-free. That's what we're here to do. That's what we're here to do. And please, listen, I'm okay if you don't want to do it. I'm okay. I'm not here. I 100% bought into a man or a woman convinced against their will is of the same opinion still. But please, don't tell me that you don't have time. When you're spending 8 to 10 hours a day, 5 to 6 days a week in one of these sub-optimized quadrants, that's the problem. It takes time to have a solution. But why wouldn't somebody? The Power Player program, that's our program. We have one play that helps people escape that financial matrix. It's called Power Player. The rest of the day, what we're going to be teaching is how to take that green box program and marry it with Power Player and escape the financial matrix. If you are sick and tired of being sick and tired, if you are saying, man, if I keep doing what I do and I got 20, 30 more years only to be able to retire and wonder how am I going to live? Because when you take a look at, this is stunning, but you can back this data, you can study the U.S. Department of Labor, and this is the income over age curve of the average American. They start their working 20 years old, sometimes around 25 years old, their income level's off. And from 25 through 65, they work for somebody else or work their own business and merely make cost of living raises. They work 8, 10 hours a day, 5, 6 days a week, and make just enough money to stay flatline. And then at 65, they retire and lose 1/2 to 2/3 of what they already were struggling to make it on. And when you understand that you have 99 out of 100 Americans living that curve, and then they say they don't have time, well, you've got all kinds of time. What is that? The question is, why don't we start spending time on the solution instead of all the time on the problem? I know, I'm sorry, I'm an engineer, I don't want to get too logical here, but doesn't it make sense to start investing the time so that you can free up the time? I don't believe, listen, if you said, do you love your family more than you love your job? I'm pretty confident most people in here would scream out, family! But then when we time out the amount of hours on family and the amount of hours on job, we're like, it's not really showing that. Well, why is that? Well, because I'm stuck in the financial matrix, and I'm forced to work in a position to where 1/3 goes to taxes, 1/3 goes to service my debt, and only 1/3 is to live, so I gotta work 3 times as hard just to be able to support my family the way I wanna support them. I'm like, well, why don't we change the 2/3 that are going out? Why don't we get rid of the 1/3 being service to debt? And then why don't we double the amount of income and wipe out the 1/3 service debt, and then you wouldn't have to go anywhere. That you could live your life the way you want. And then you could spend the rest of your life doing exactly what Lori and myself do, and some of the leaders that you've seen here today, that they spend their life, they don't have their job optional, and they spend their life sharing the message that I'm sharing tonight, that Lori will share here in just a bit. And we literally go out and share with others and help them escape the matrix. I sit there like, are you kidding me? You mean that we actually can live free by helping other people get free? By joining in this big tug of war and say, hey, we are going to make a break, and we're about ready to pull a whole bunch more people through the financial matrix. Anybody in? And you grab a spot on this, and you're 1, 2, 3, pull, power player. And we pull, and we pull, and we add 10 more people to your team, and 10 more. 30 days ago, I had a new guy get started in Northern California. 30 days. He drove down from California, he drove 20 some hours. And he came to Kansas City for his first ever convention, 2 days in the business. And he left there, and his taproot's 10 levels of depth, 4-on marketing system. We'll describe that here in a sec, that he's on his way. And he either just went power player or just missed it for today. He's 30 days in the business, and he's about ready to go power player. You know why? You know why? Because he not only bought this, but he started applying it. You see, when you take the green box, if you just take the green box principles and plug into this amazing community, and even if you don't go share it with others, if you just take the principles and associate with this and start applying the defense and offensive principles, you're gonna do this. Your income's gonna go up. You're gonna start seeing pay raises. People are like, man, we don't know what you're doing, but your leadership has gotten a lot better. Man, your ability to relate, and they start, and you start getting raises. A lady went online and she said, I've been associated with this crazy community for 18 months, and I just received a 33% raise on my job. That's not from building the business. That's just from applying the principles of defense and offense within the green box and within our subscriptions that teach those principles. And she got a 33. See, this here is the green box. You take just the green box and you apply it just to yourself, not sharing it with others, but just applying it. You are going to escape. You are going to get over here and be financially free. But here's the crazy thing. That process takes, 10, 15, 20 years. You just stick around. We're going to do it anyway. How many people are working 10, 15, 20 years anyway? Might as well do it to get free, right? But then I thought, but what if we actually created a program that paid people for referring the green box to others? What if we actually said, if you refer that green box to others, now listen, don't refer it until you believe in it yourself. But if you're using the green box and it's blessing your life, why wouldn't you share it with somebody else? And so we created a whole structure through Power Player that says if you're willing to go take the green box, get results, and then share it with others, you can get financial results that look something like this. This is what we call the Power Player program. Now, all things being equal, if you had which of these graphs to do, would you say fast, slow, or no? There's your three choices. Fast, slow, no. And I looked at that, I take fast. The only problem with me is I was an engineer with no people skills. And so I had a lot of learning and growing. I had a lot of reading, listening, and associating and acting to develop, well, first of all, to develop a personality. That was the start. Lori, I'm sure, will share more on that. But eventually it went from my head into my heart. And now you say, well, Orrin, why do you still do this? Because I'm blown away by the testimonies. You go to the Financial Fitness Info site and you'll see, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 million now. That's only been up for like 18 months, and there's $8 million of documented savings, of wiping out debt. That doesn't even include some of the offense and the improvements. You add it all up, it's tens of millions of dollars in changed financial situation for people. Now, let me ask you, if you had a program that could bless people's lives like that, what would you do? I'll tell you what, you would get in a plane and you would come up to Michigan and you'd share, because I am convinced there's another Orrin and Lori out in the crowd tonight that is looking for their opportunity, and I'm telling you that you just found it. So, with that, Lori's going to come out and we are going to spend the rest of our time talking about this FAST program. If anything we say sounds too radical for you, remember, it's your business. You can go fast, you can go slow. No one is your boss. No one's going to make you do anything. You are welcome into this community. If you want to hold the rope with one hand and pull, fantastic. If you want to just touch it with a finger, fantastic. If you want to, come and go, whatever, it's your life. But if you want out of the financial matrix and you're ready to grab a hold with two hands and pull like Orrin and Lori did, then you can live financially free and you can live your dreams.